Hello everyone. Today I'm presenting my character tier list for Ravenswatch, specifically for the Thieves update. Currently I have about 3,000 hours in the game and have cleared every possible challenge. I've created various tier lists across different versions of the game and stages of my own understanding. While this is a subjective assessment, it is backed by solid feedback from other players I regularly communicate with. First, let me make two important clarifications. 1. In the current meta, every character can scale their damage to astronomical levels with almost any endgame build. Therefore, we will be looking at a hero's power during each stage of a run. 2. Even on Nightmare difficulty, it's quite difficult to test the breaking points of builds, so I will be immediately evaluating characters based on their potential to clear any possible challenges and modifiers. Otherwise, we would end up with a tier list consisting of only two tiers, A and B. Depending on the selection criteria, you will always get different tier lists. Tier lists for different types of challenges will also vary. To avoid confusion, I am introducing a clear grading system. We will rate heroes on a 5-point scale across 5 categories. First, talents and builds, their variety, how guaranteed we are to get necessary talents, and how heavily the character's power depends on them. Second, potential damage throughout different stages of the game, how quickly and consistently the character builds up this damage, including stagger damage. Third, performance and challenges, focus on stability, win rate, and survivability in both solo and cooperative play, including custom 5 modifier runs. Fourth, utility to the team in co-op, how effectively they buff allies, reduce enemy stats, and contribute to overall damage. Conversely, how often they get in the way or become dead weight. Fifth, ease of mastery. How easy is it for a beginner to achieve efficiency, or how much efficiency depends on player skill. The higher the score in a specific category, the better. For example, a character with a 5 in difficulty is extremely simple to master and beginner friendly. A character with a 1 is completely unfriendly for starting out. All ratings are subjective and can obviously vary based on your experience, habits, and other factors. There are only 12 characters in the game, but I will consider Scarlet in 2 variations. Let's start with her playing only in wolf form. This is the weakest character in the game. Objectively, the game was not designed to be played this way, so its position at the very bottom is logical. Wolf form has only one prime build, Dash. This character is critically dependent on talents and items. Without them, it is not fully playable in any mode. Yes, in the endgame, the wolf can perform well, due to specific short dash attack animations, but it naturally has large hitboxes and lacks maneuvering on the start, which is often critical. This is D tier. Slightly higher on the list is Geppetto. This is still D tier, but he is much more solid, especially in solo mode. When talking about Geppetto, the downsides immediately come to mind. He has the worst defensive frames in the game, and all his working builds require specific talents. In co-op, he often gets in his allies' way, rather than helping. Geppetto is objectively the worst character for challenges. In solo, his early game is decent, but you remain a hostage to RNG for items and talents. Plus, this is the worst target for Wukong's transformation. His best power build is not fully functional without the magnetic hammer talent, and some of his talents are simply unplayable. Geppetto requires balancing from the developers more than any other hero. Going further, slightly higher in our table is Romeo. This is C tier. Romeo's strong suit is his defensiveness. He has many ways to apply damage safely: ultimate, defense, special, and ranged power. He also has built-in healing. The problem with Romeo is that his melee builds are quite vulnerable and suffer from animation delays. Vajra boosts him excellently early on, but it's an unstable factor. The power build lacks these downsides, but is weaker in the early game. The character's key weakness is that Romeo builds up damage slower than all other heroes. It is often a war of attrition. The enemy cannot kill you, but you take forever to kill them, especially in the mid-game. Romeo is also worse in co-op than solo, and particularly bad with Juliet, as she often ruins his primary power build. B tier is opened by Sun Wukong, or simply the monkey. Everyone knows how strong his power build is, but it requires specific items and talents to scale. His defense is also good, but demands a precise understanding of enemy attack, timings, and positioning. In multiplayer, Wukong is catastrophically vulnerable to connection quality, and in co-op challenges, he holds the record for the worst win rate, the highest share of deaths among all characters. But let's be honest, his damage scaling speed on the power build is one of the best in the game. In skilled hands, Wukong can easily turn into a confident S tier. Yet, even after 3,000 hours, I still catch ridiculous one-shots on him. He is the definition of a glass cannon. The character is well balanced, but extremely dependent on piloting skill and luck. The longer you play Ravenswatch, the higher Wukong will be in your personal top. Next in B tier is Melon. Upon his release, he was in my A tier, but recent, though fair, nerfs have dropped him down a step. Melon has nice build diversity. The power build is no longer as reliable as before, but the defense variations are still amazing, and the special build remains a solid choice in any game. Melon has a very strong early game and good damage for the first act. He only starts lagging behind in damage scaling in later stages. We have many ways to mitigate damage: defensive frames, healing, and shields. Melon's problems are similar to Wukong's. You must be skilled and not fumble buttons. Blocks and animation when casting lightning are also deadly in challenges. He is a stable hero with great potential for spamming abilities, but he requires high proficiency. Perhaps the worst part about him is that he always has to press 2 buttons to do what many characters can do with 1 button, meaning he has less potential for ability spamming. Up until A tier, all characters possessed downsides that could ruin a run, even with good execution. Starting with A tier, characters rarely have critical flaws, but each possesses the potential to easily beat the game. A tier heroes do not forgive serious mistakes, but with good realization, you will get a very consistent result. First, I must mention Carmilla. She is A tier, but with a slight minus. The character has 2 key bases, defense and special. They also form a good foundation for her strongest endgame solution, the infamous combo of the mass punishment ultimate talent and the cruel strike. Overall, the character is quite versatile, with good starting damage and the best scouting ability in the game. The ability to steal early on and top-tier ultimate damage in the late game makes her an excellent candidate for challenges and co-op. Downsides include dependence on talents and items, and very poor stagger damage. I must also note a serious bug regarding mass punishment. It currently gives about 30% more damage on average than it should, based on the description, which explains its insane performance. New players often find it difficult to master blood management and build selection. A confident A tier is opened by Scarlet, in her multi-form, although it's objectively recognized that most experienced players prefer human form 80% of the time. It's funny how patches have pulled her from the bottom to the top without major reworks to the character itself. Scarlet has many good builds, an absolutely amazing dash build, a very reliable defense build, and a difficult but deadly special build. Yes, she is dependent on items, but damage progression is excellent, and safety is very high. Scouting, flexibility, and a defensive ultimate make her one of the best co-op fighters, top 3 in my utility rating. This is a beautifully balanced hero, but one of the hardest to master. Your impact will directly depend on personal skill. Slightly above Scarlet in A tier is the Pied Piper. A wide variety of builds, strong enemy debuffs, and one of the best damage progressions in the entire game. Piper's crazy performance is balanced only by low early game survivability and a slight learning curve. The player just needs to learn how to correctly play the first act to show excellent results for the rest of the game. Together with Scarlet, he is also in the top 3 strongest heroes for cooperative play. A lower score in challenges is because the increased difficulty in the first act prevents him from scaling quickly, but by the third act, he simply stops feeling enemies. Next to Piper is Melusine, a character with exactly opposite strengths. Melusine has a beastly start with her defense build, especially with power conversion, but her natural damage progression is one of the lowest in the game. However, with the right talents, she is the most unkillable character. and the damage problem is easily solved by external multipliers from items. To show excellent performance, the player must learn the character and understand build paths. Statistics show players mistake most often when selecting starting talents for Melusine. We move on to S tier. All S tier heroes are so strong that they forgive most player mistakes. They are usually simple to master, stable, and equally dominant in both solo and multiplayer. Beowulf opens S tier. His best builds are through defense and dash, but he feels comfortable in ultimate setups too. He is elementary to master and phenomenally survivable, great defensive frames, the best healing in the game, guaranteed core talents, and powerful ultimates. Beowulf is the king of challenges, easily clearing any set of modifiers. Downsides include only a not super high damage progression, what you can feel in the middle of the game. Fun fact that this hero has 2 of the top 10 worst talents in the entire game, as well as 2 of the top 10 best talents. I can't say Beowulf is a huge team booster. He has a number of utility talents and good ultimates in multiplayer that can significantly help the team early in the game or when killing bosses, making him a decent choice in multiplayer, but he's at his best in solo and duo play. If drawing parallels, Beowulf is simply Romeo, perfected to the absolute ideal of power and stability. The top 3 is opened by the Snow Queen. I wouldn't say she is significantly stronger than Beowulf, but I put her slightly higher because in normal runs and co-op, she shines brighter. She has a similar set of powerful builds through dash, defense, or hybrids. She has one of the highest starter and stagger damage outputs in the game. However, without the right talents, progression can stall in Acts 2 and 3. In cooperative play, she is a great damage dealer, armor shredder, and status effect applier. Sometimes she creates too much chaos on screen, which can hinder teammates, but her pluses always far outweigh this visual downside. We have 2 heroes left, and they undoubtedly share the top pedestal. You can easily swap them, and it won't be a mistake. Let's break it down in detail. First, the more obvious Juliet. Everyone knew she was S tier. She gets her core build-defining talent right at level 1, has almost no dead options in solo play, and stability is fantastic. She is simple to master and safe due to ranged attacks, providing amazing damage progression at all stages. In challenges, she can be hobbled by a few modifiers, like disease which turns off her trait, and delays when casting some abilities sometimes lead to one-shots. Surprisingly, in co-op, she only acts as pure damage with not best stagger, which isn't always useful. Outside of difficult modifiers, Juliet is the absolute queen of beginners. Huge damage at low cost. The easiest hero in the game who forgives all mistakes outside of challenges. And our friend, Aladdin. He is revealed to the player, not immediately, and requires understanding the game. But with the Master Thief talent, he can play absolutely any build, as if it were a prime build. But even without Master Thief, his dash and power builds are some of the strongest in the game. His talents literally break the game's balance, damage potential tends toward infinity, and his level 2 is objectively the strongest in the game, as speedrunners easily prove. Aladdin confidently erases any challenges, and is the most desired guest in any co-op. No one boosts the team like he does. He has no objective downsides, other than the threshold for entry. In unskilled hands, his potential simply won't be revealed. In summary, I cannot choose who is stronger. With average and bad RNG, Juliet will prove more consistent. But with good luck, Aladdin turns into an ultimate weapon and the strongest hero in Ravenswatch. This tier list is an attempt to share my impressions of the game and its characters. I personally use the entire roster and have no heroes with less than 150 hours played. I've loved different characters at different points in my career, so each of them can bring you joy and victories. Happy gaming to all of you, and thanks for watching.